Welcome to episode 25 of Miami Masterclass. I'm Ian, and in today's episode we are going to try and recover from our dreadful finish to last season where we got knocked out in the wild card to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Whilst the playoffs were going on, we re-signed CJ Cron for another year. You may remember that in the previous episode that I offered him a contract. He signed it, and so did Joe Panic. Both of them signed just for one more year, just to give us another crack at making the playoffs. The Atlanta Braves won the World Series in 7 games. They actually defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates along the way, who of course knocked us out. Pirates actually swept the Cubs in 3 games in the divisional series, so I don't think we would have progressed much further than that. The Cubs were a very solid team, so I think we were beaten by the better team. As you can see, the Atlanta Braves team is just stacked. Preston Tucker, Freddie Freeman, Jackie Bradley Jr. all getting big hits. There's really not a bad player amongst that team, and I think they thoroughly deserved the series win. That's a bit of a blow because, don't forget, we only finished 2 games away from the Braves, and they ended up going on to win the World Series. So, I mean, I know the playoffs can be a bit of a crapshoot, but to fall short in the wild card and then have the Braves, who only just edged out the division over us, to go on and win the World Series, that's a bit of blow. But our owner, Jeffrey Loria, he was thrilled with everything I did this season, thrilled with the team record, very happy with the team stats because our runs scored were very low last year, and we picked that up and finished 3rd in the end. Happy with the extension of Ivan Nova. He gave me a pass mark on Madison Bumgarner for the Cy Young Award winner. Madison Bumgarner obviously hasn't won a Cy Young, so he's given me a pass on it, but I don't think he's too thrilled about that. Happy with the increase in attendance, and delighted with the long term that we achieved the goal of making the playoffs. For next year, though, he now wants us to achieve a winning record. I don't think that's going to be too difficult. He wants an upgrade at third base, wants to improve the team bullpen ERA, something that I'm 100% behind. We definitely needed to improve that. He still wants us to acquire a Cy Young Award winner, increase team attendance, and he now wants us to build a team that can bring a championship home in the next 3 seasons. So that could be a little bit tricky. But thankfully, he has increased our budget up to $104 million, which I thought, oh, happy days, but still the smallest budget in the entire league, so that's not fantastic. But our team payroll has increased significant. So this was the salary arbitration. As you may remember, Ben Revere and Henderson Alvarez were both out on long-term injuries. I wasn't going to re-sign them for obvious reasons. Alvarez isn't back until July, August time next year, so it's pointless keeping him around. Boone Logan was very disappointing, as was Eric O'Flaherty, and Bobby Parnell didn't do too badly, but I wasn't going to submit a $15 million qualifying offer. He's not worth it. In terms of the arbitration-eligible players, Tanner Scheppers, we offered him a contract. Tim Federowicz, we let him go for one major reason, because JT Realmuto is a better player than Federowicz, particularly at catcher and as a batter. So I figured we don't need 2 catchers when you've got someone like Kyle Schwarber who can play catcher in the backup role. So I figured when JT Realmuto needs his off day, Kyle Schwarber can go behind the plate. Because we have got a very good left fielder coming through in Casey Salters. So I figured we can let Federowicz go. If a great catcher becomes available for cheap in free agency, we might pick him up, but there's no real need for it. Otherwise, we offered Valderspin, Iglesias, and Kyle Schwarber arbitration offers. This is the one I wanted to talk about. Our new head scout, Norio Yamaguchi. He is fantastic. He's a massive step up from Stan Meek, who we had before. And his scouting preference, as you can see, is favouring ability, which is something that I really want to emphasise is what we needed to do, because Stan Meek favoured potential. And the problem with that, of course, is we were trying to build a team now to win games, and I don't like watching players coming through the minor leagues to see whether they make it or not. I want players that can play now, who are ready to jump into the starting lineup. So Yamaguchi's got that ability. As you can see, he's outstanding at finding amateurs, international scouting, and scouting the minor leagues. His major league rating of excellent is a bit of a concern, but Stan Meeks was the same, so I'm not too concerned about that. And this was interesting. This guy, Jarlin Garcia, he's in our AAA affiliate, New Orleans Zephyrs. Now, he had a overall and a potential rating of, I think it was 1 star or 1.5 stars from our previous scout, Stan Meek. When we brought Yamaguchi in, I believe it might have even been the same day or the next day, I thought I'd have another look at our minor league system to see if there was any changes in the star ratings. And this guy popped up, and he's not bad, is he? He hasn't performed at all in the major leagues, and he's only had a few starts in AAA. He obviously came up towards the end following the expanded rosters in September. And he put up very good numbers. Is he worth bringing into the rotation? I'm not sure. I don't think he's quite ready yet. Particularly as you look in at last year, he started in single A and he had an ERA of 5.91. Then when he came up to AAA, it did go down to 3.26. So I don't think he's quite ready. He's still very young. And as you can see, he doesn't have a lot of room for potential to improve there. But he is a sort of a possible maybe type character, because if we can't sign another player to replace Alvarez, Jarlin Garcia could possibly step up. So that's why I wanted to take a screenshot of him to show you guys that we have got some good players coming through the system. Nomar Mazara got a Platinum Stick Award for the National League in right field. He did fantastically, didn't he? He got a slash line there of 283, 359, 521, 34 home runs. Fantastic. 5.6 WAR as well. Nomar Mazara did actually finish second in the voting for the MVP award, which is so agonisingly close. Anthony Rizzo from the Chicago Cubs, he ended up winning it. Mazara came second. So I'm delighted to see him there. He was our lone standout in the off-season for the awards. In terms of the arbitration results, Raul Muto, he's got a contract worth $6.6 million, which I'm going to say he's worth it, but he's got to really step up. Last year he was a bit average. I mean, he put good numbers up, but he seemed to blow hot and cold. So I'd like to see him be a bit more consistent. But for $6.6 million, we can't really complain because he is a good catcher. Tanner Scheppers, he's only got a contract worth $1 million. I mean, I think that's a steal. He declined ever so slightly last year, but he's still putting up decent numbers, and for $1 million, you can't really complain. Kyle Schwarber, they ruled in our favour, $4.8 million. That is a bargain. Jose Iglesias got a contract of $3 million, and Bautista got a contract of $800,000. Out of all of them, I'd say Iglesias is probably the biggest issue, because at $3 million, he's not really playing that often. So we could probably look at getting rid of him. Which is exactly what I started to look at. I started to look at trades, and this was the first trade we made. We got rid of Jake Thompson, our right-handed pitcher. You'll remember he came up in 2016 and did very well. He had a very low ERA. I thought he was a bit like that Garcia guy that I mentioned earlier. I thought he was going to be a star, a possible star in the making, but he never really made it. He didn't have a lot of opportunities, to be fair, because he was sort of sharing that fifth spot in the rotation with Ivan Nova. But every time he did play, he seemed to give up runs and hits like there was no tomorrow. So I really didn't think he was going to progress much further. So we managed to offload him to the Tribe, and we brought in Tyler Naquin and $6 million in cash. So that $6 million freed up a lot of money for us for future trades and any free agency signings. Jake Thompson, as you can see, there's nothing great about him. He's a very average pitcher, isn't he? He's got good movement, but his control isn't great. His stuff's not great, and even his pitching repertoire there isn't anything flash, is it? He's average at holding the runners too. So, especially once we got our new scout in Yamaguchi, his potential rating declined. Stan Meek had him at, I think it might have been 2 stars. Definitely no more than that, where when Yamaguchi came in, he's put his potential rating right down just to the 1. And when you look at his numbers, yeah, he's not terrible. I mean, an ERA of 4.35 isn't great, but it's not the worst, is it? And so looking at his ratings, his pitching ratings, I thought, let's get rid of him. Tyler Naquin, however, this guy is a tough call. I think the biggest advantage of that trade for us is the $6 million. Tyler Naquin, of course, is a centre fielder. He's going to give a good competition to Almonte, who's pretty much locked in centre field position as his own. But as you can see, he's only young. He's 26. He's on only 500,000. And last year he started 104 games and he batted 304. Great contact, great gap power. Everything else is fractionally below average. His home run power, his discipline, avoiding Ks isn't too bad. Got great defensive ratings, and he's not bad at base running either. So, did we do well there? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But I think that's a fair deal. I think because Jack Thompson, if we go back and have a look, look at his ratings there. There's nothing that really stands out that makes me think, I've got to keep this guy around. Where Naquin, he came up and he did very well. In fact, he made his debut in 2016, as you can see, for Cleveland. And in 103 games, he went 268. So even if he only posts 268 this year, I still think that's a good deal. We picked up Dan Slania from San Francisco in the Rule 5 draft. I can't tell you what it is that makes me want him in the team. But as you can see, his ratings aren't too bad. Certainly an improvement over Jake Thompson, who spent most of the time in the bullpen when Ivan Nova was pitching. As you can see, last year in AAA with San Fran's minor league affiliate, he went 190 ERA in 55 games, 61 innings pitched, and his whip's only 114. So I think this guy's got a real opportunity to stake a name for himself in our team. He's at the moment, because we don't have a bullpen as such, because obviously we've lost quite a few to free agency. Still early on. We're only in December 6th when I signed this guy, obviously, from the Rule 5 draft. So he could hang around for quite some time, and I think he's going to make the team and stay in the team for the majority of the year. He hasn't actually played in the major league, and I'm surprised about that because San Fran are an awful team, and why, with such great numbers in AAA, they didn't promote him, at least in the roster expansion, I don't know. But he's certainly going to stay in our team, and I'd be interested to see how he performs. So that'll be one for the future. Marco Hernandez, we also picked him up in the Rule 5 draft, and our scout recommended him, Yamaguchi recommended him. I can see why. Great contact, great gap power. His home run power is very low. His discipline's poor. But he's got good potential elsewhere. He's got good base running abilities, good defensive ratings. He's nothing more than a backup, really. I mean, he can play shortstop. So it got me thinking again about players such as Iglesias, such as Valdespin. Do we need them anymore? Now we've got Marco Hernandez. Because I think Hernandez is better than players like Valdespin. And he's obviously cheaper as well. He's on a minor league contract. So we could, in theory, get rid of Valdespin. Whether Marco Hernandez lasts the entire year in our active roster, I don't know. So we could be flying back to Boston before the year's out. But he's certainly one to keep around. Knowing that we had Hernandez, I started looking at some trades. And the big one was the trade with the Dodgers. We got two fantastic relievers. We had to give up Jose Iglesias, who's on, let's not forget, $3 million. We also gave them minor league pitcher Trevor Williams and minor league shortstop Xavier Lopez. But we picked up Yimi Garcia and Pedro Baez in the trade, and they put up fantastic numbers. Iglesias, with the $3 million contract, I didn't think he was worth the money because he's not playing every day. He's got fantastic defensive ratings, but we don't need him. We don't need him anymore. Hernandez, I think, is actually slightly better than Iglesias. Not necessarily defensively, but certainly with the bat. So this was the first guy, Yimi Garcia. Look at those numbers. Fantastic. 2015 was a bit of a blip. He went 245. Otherwise, he hasn't gone over 180 for the last 4 years. There's something that I quite like about him. He's a righty. He's only on $1.7 million. Got the auto-renew contract. And he's ERA plus for the last 2 years at 247, 248. So the last 2 years he's been very, very consistent. Whip is very low. It's under the 1. This guy's a steal. But I wanted Pedro Baez as well because I think the Dodgers undervalued him. Because as you can see, look at his ERA for the last few years. Although it is decline, it is going in the correct direction. He's going down. 3.36 still isn't fantastic, is it, for a reliever? You want a lights-out reliever. And I think this guy's going to be even better this year. It's a bit of a gamble, but it still shores up our bullpen, which has been our biggest issue. We then picked up our first free agency signing, Ruben Tejada. We signed him to a $13.5 million contract over 3 years. And this guy looks the business, doesn't he? We've got him on a backloaded 3-year deal. On the final year, it's a team option, and that's when he's earning most of his money. So he's only on $4 million this year. I think next year it goes to 4.5, maybe $5 million, and the year after that it's whatever it was, 6.5, $7 million, something like that. So he came from Cleveland as well. Last year he went 313. He did very, very well. Ops plus of 129 was fractionally low, but as a second baseman, this allows a little bit of movement because Ketel Marte, since we got our new scout doesn't rate him at all, doesn't think he's very good. When you look at his OSA ratings compared to the head scout's opinion of him, which I don't have a screenshot of because I'm an idiot, Ketel Marte's totally overvalued in the eyes of our head scout. So I thought he could be possibly good trade bait. But we brought Ruben Tejada in to come in for the second base and shortstop as a backup for Panik and Marte. I don't think Marte's even going to feature this season. If he does, it'll be, a very few sort of pinch hit appearances here and there. Chipper Jones and Jimmy T, they were inducted into the Hall of Fame for those who are interested. But we then made another big free agency signing in Addison Reed. This guy put up fantastic numbers when he was with New York. Then he came to Detroit and he stumbled a little bit. But this guy is exactly the same as Ruben Tejada, 3-year deal, and he's on huge money in that third year that is a team option. As you see, with last year in Detroit, he struggled a little bit. His ERA was just under the 4. But when he was with New York, he put up very good numbers. So he again shores up our bullpen, and hopefully we won't be dropping too many games. There was quite a few games last year that we dropped because of our relievers just blowing save opportunities and that sort of thing. There you go, that's actually confirmation. So it goes 6 up to 8 million, and then the team option is 10.4 million in 2020. Whether we take that up, I don't know. I doubt it. Jose Altuve comes in. He's been with Houston ever since the start of this save. And I am thrilled to bring him in. Exactly the same as the last two. He's on a 3-year deal, heavily backloaded with a team option on that final year. Now, this guy is going to play third base. He's got a poor third base rating, because obviously he's a second baseman in real life at heart. But we've got Joe Panik, we've got Tejada, we've got Ketel Marte. Perhaps I was a little brash bringing him in, because we've now got a stacked infield. A couple of seasons ago, we had one of the poorest infields in the entire league, I think, but now we've got a team that's totally stacked. But I really pushed to sign him after I realised that Ketel Marte was hideously overvalued in our head scout's eyes, because we don't have a good lead-off hitter. Jose Altuve is better than Marte in that regard. We then made another trade. We gave up Jordani Valdespin with a centre fielder, Jaren Kendall, and a little bit of cash because Minnesota are absolutely struggling financially. And we picked up a real coup here. We picked up Aaron Blair, who is going to come straight into our rotation and replace that Garcia, who I don't think is quite ready. And Garcia will probably find himself back down in AAA or in the bullpen, most likely. As you can see, Aaron Blair hasn't actually made a major league start yet, but he's got oodles and oodles of potential. I think this guy could be the next sort of Adam Conley. He could be really good. I don't want to, big him up too much because I know this year he's going to have an ERA of 9 or something ridiculous, but I'm really thrilled to see him in our team. And we didn't give up that much because Jordani Valdespin isn't that fantastic. He's average across the board. His rating's a 10 across the board. Jaren Kendall, he's not a bad centre fielder, I'll be honest. He had a little bit of potential there to possibly squeeze into the active roster within a few years, but that's a risk I'm willing to take on losing him, and the cash is nothing. That's just to butter them up and basically pay for Valdespin's contract. We then totally blew our budget, and this was me seeing all that money in our bank account and thinking, hey, let's spend it. Pong-Soo Kim, he was one of the international free agents that declared himself for free agency, and this guy looks the business. He's a third baseman. As you can see, he's average contact, discipline's fractionally below, avoiding Ks is average, but his home run power there, his gap power, I expect this guy to have huge slugging numbers this year. Now, he's on a very similar contract again, 3 years, backloaded right at the end. But I really like him. He's a a real sort of dark horse. He's an unknown quantity, and bringing him in at third base, that puts us in a bit of a bind, because now, of course, we've got Jose Altuve, we've got Tejada, we've got Marte, and we've got Joe Panic, all who can play second or third base, or even shortstop for that matter. But Pong-Soo Kim, he looks really good. He's certainly an improvement over Martin Prado as well. And even though they're two very different players, Martin Prado is a real contact hitter with great discipline. Trey Kim, as his nickname is the complete opposite. He's got a lot of home run power, but his contact and his discipline's average at best. So that brings us all the way up to the end of spring training. We went 12-14. Who cares? We finished last in our division. Doesn't really matter, does it? And this was our pitchers with their spring training ratings that we brought up. Some of the more interesting ones, Aaron Blair at the very top there, he went 3.38 with an ERA, which isn't too bad. His ERA plus was 1.18. His Ks to walks only 1.5. That's a little bit of a concern. His whip's up 150, but he's young. I'm not expecting him to go out there and win games right off the bat. Madison Bumgarner put very good numbers up. Adam Conley, again, he can't do no wrong, can he? Well, 180 ERA's whip, 10 points under the 1. He looks really, really good. Jose Fernandez, now this is someone that I've been really conscious to look at this season. His ERA was 7.85 in his 5 starts. He's in a contract year this year, and last year, you'll remember every sort of month he had, he'd have a really good month and a really bad month. He's all over the place. His Ks to walks is very good. Strikes out people like there's no tomorrow. He played very well in that wild card game, but that ERA just is so high all the time, and I don't know why. So he's certainly going to have to be one that I'm going to look at, because he's great trade bait. If we start struggling, we're out of the playoffs, perhaps I could trade him away, bring in someone better, but we'll have to wait and see, because everyone wants him. In terms of our relievers, though, the best of the best, Dan Slania, he was that one that we picked up in the Rule 5 draft. Look at his ERA there, 1.59, really, really good. ERA plus very high too. And that's pretty much it. Addison Reed, he's our closer, and he made 6 appearances, 5 2/3 innings pitched, didn't give up a run, and his whip, look at that, 0.18. Fantastic stuff. Our 2 relievers that we picked up from the Dodgers, Yimi Garcia, he went average, 386, didn't do anything fantastic. Pedro Baez right at the top, very well. 6 appearances, 7 innings pitched. He didn't give up a run either, and his whip was under 1. So that's why I think he could be a real steal, and I'm thrilled to have him on the team. In terms of our batters, there was only one that I couldn't actually fit on the screen here, and that was Jack McPherson, the catcher. He made 1 pinch hit appearance, didn't get anything. I think he even struck out, so I didn't bother keeping him on there. Not really much to talk about here. Everyone underperformed a little bit, truth be told. No one really put up huge numbers. Martin Prado at third base, he did 286, but so did Pong-Soo Kim, which is very interesting. Pong-Soo Kim had a much better slugging, as you can see there, 4.57 to Martin Prado's 3.3s. So I think Pong-Soo Kim is the better player over Martin Prado. Rather worryingly, we do have a couple of players that seem to underperform in spring training. Jose Altuve, he didn't make many starts, he only made 8. In 26 games, though, he went 186 average. That's a concern. I don't want that. He's on big money, and he's a good player. And he's a good player in real life, of course. But he can certainly do better than 186. And if that's the sort of average that he's going to be giving us this year, what a waste of money he's been. It's early days. I'm not going to hold that against him. But that's certainly something to keep an eye on. Another one, all the way down the left fielders, Casey Saltis. Now, he's the one who's going to take over from Kyle Schwarber when he's in the catcher role, giving Raul Muto a break. Casey Saltis, he went 160. He's got fantastic contact ratings, and he went 160. That's a real concern. Abraham Almonte, who's going to basically be our starting centre fielder, he went 214, a bit average, wasn't it? And he didn't get any extra bases. He got 6 doubles, but no triples. Didn't get any home runs either. That's a little concerning too. And Nomar Mazara in right field. He's our only right fielder. We don't have another right fielder that can take over if he gets injured this season. In 26 starts, he batted 200. Again, spring training, I'm not going to hold that against him, but every season so far, we've started off really slowly. April's been a really slow month for us, and it looks like this could be the same this season. I don't want that to happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, they were just getting the rust out of their system, and we're going to start off with a bang and start the way how we finished last year. So this is our team, our starting active roster. Jose Fernandez will be our opening day pitcher once more. Adam Conley behind him. He gets the nod ahead of Madison Bumgarner. I mean, Bumgarner is third in our rotation, and he still puts up fantastic numbers. So that shows how great our rotation is. Aaron Blair gets the nod ahead of Ivan Nova. Aaron Blair, of course, hasn't actually started a Major League game before, so Game 4, which looks like it's going to be against Boston. That could be really interesting to see how he performs in his debut. Otherwise, Addison Reed will be our closer. Our two ex-Dodgers players, Yimi Garcia and Pedro Baez, will be the setup guys. Tazawa, Tanner Shepard, Dan Slania, and Jarlin Garcia, who we brought up from AAA, fill out our rotation. Our bullpen. In terms of the lineups, I could spend all day talking about this one. JT Realmuto, he's going to be our everyday catcher when he needs a break. Kyle Schwarber will be taking over from him, which means that Casey Soltis is now in the lineup too. Casey Soltis will, of course, be taking over from Kyle Schwarber when he's not in the left field position. And in fact, Casey Soltis will be appearing against left-handed pitchers because he's ever so slightly better than Kyle Schwarber. Which, if Casey Soltis is ever so slightly better than Kyle Schwarber, that shows that Soltis has got real potential. CJ Cron is the lone first baseman. He's made that position his own. He's all over the place in the lineup though, but against right-handers he has dropped slightly. Joe Panik, second baseman, he's sharing that role with Jose Altuve, but Jose Altuve will be coming in designated hitters against lefties, but when we're playing in the National League, he'll be lead off on second base, and Joe Panik will be playing against right-handers in the second base role. Ruben Tejada, he's all over the place, but he's mainly playing shortstop. But again, he's sharing that with Joe Panik, and it's basically a platoon. The second base, the third base, the shortstop, they're all sort of platooning, really. But Pong-Soo Kim, in saying that, is starting as our third baseman every single game. Noticeable absence, of course, is Martin Prado. Martin Prado is back down in AAA. We just couldn't fit him in the team. We had Marco Hernandez. Of course, we don't really need Marco Hernandez. We could probably get rid of him, but of course, if we demote him back down to AAA, he's going back to Boston, and I don't want to lose him. If you look at his spring training numbers there, he put up 385 in his 25 games. Didn't start any, admittedly. Did get a home run, got 4 RBIs. I think he could do something. Martin Prado, he's getting on a bit. Yes, he's a real contact hitter. I'm not saying that he's going to stay down there forever. I mean, if Marco Hernandez makes a few starts and does nothing and really struggles and is costing us games, get rid of him. Martin Prado can come back up and really push Pong-Soo Kim for that third base spot. But otherwise, Pong-Soo Kim's, he's got the nod. He's our third baseman. Ketel Marte, he's totally out of the lineup. He went from basically playing every day to suddenly not playing at all. He's totally gone out of favour with us. He's real trade bait, though. I don't want to lose him. He's still got a lot of potential because he's a switch hitter, which is pretty major. He's going to be a fantastic pinch hitter for that reason. But again, if we're struggling, he might be a good trade bait, particularly if we lose someone, say like Mazzara, because he's our only right fielder. So if we lose him, Ketel Marte could be a good trade bait to get another right fielder in. Of course, if Hernandez does poorly, we're bringing Martin Prado back in the same way that if Marte does poorly, we're bringing Martin Prado back in. Kyle Schwarber, he's basically sharing left field with Casey Soltis, as I mentioned earlier. Abraham Almonte, he's going to be our starting centre fielder basically against every situation, I think, by the looks of it. And Tyler Naquin, he doesn't start in anything just yet, but he's a good backup, and I don't have his screenshot at hand, but I believe he can play left field and maybe right field as well. So he's basically replacing Nori Aoki. And unsurprisingly, Neymar Mazzara in right field all on his own. So that brings us up to the finances. We did very well last year. We only spent just under 79 million, and we've raked in 121 million. So we turned a huge profit last year. This year, we're still expected to pick up about 20 million in profit, which is really, really good. As you can see, our attendance skyrocketed last year. We lowered the ticket prices down to $20, and that brought all the punters in. And of course, winning games really helped, and making the wild card made an even better difference. This year, I'm expecting even better things in that regard. And to leave you today, here we are again, the preseason predictions. We're expected to win the division again. 2 games ahead of Atlanta and only 5 games ahead of Washington. We are in a really, really tough division. Our ERA is average, 3.42, but look at Atlanta's and Washington's predicted ERAs, 3.17 and 3.21. They must have fantastic bullpens, fantastic rotations. We are going to have to take games against them all throughout this season, because 2 games between us and the current world champions, the Atlanta Braves, there's not much in it, is there? Last time we were predicted to win the division, we finished 4th. So I'm not going to get too excited and say, this is it, this is our year, and start rubbing my hands together. But it does look promising, doesn't it? Most notably, out of the players, Adam Connolly. Look at that. He's predicted to win 20 games this year. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. But if he performs anywhere like he did last year, we're going to have a good year from him. And that brings a close to the episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, pop a like on there. Let me know what you guys think about some of the trades, some of the signings that we've made, and we'll see you again tomorrow for April 2018. Thanks for watching.